The Fastcast at 5 starts in 1 minute. Courtney King will have the latest on the case involving a man who is accused of firing at officers and stealing a couple of vehicles. He was in court today. And Michelle Zhu is learning more about a man who was killed in a fatal house fire. She'll share the details. Also, Justin is covering the latest in traffic and weather. And yes, it is cold out there. Stick around for the details.
Watch Fox Fastcast at 5 News starts now.
A great and noble man, the best father a son or daughter could have.
A day of mourning across America as the nation and world says their final goodbyes to former President George H.W. Bush. Thanks so much for tuning into the Fastcast of 5. I'm Myra Ruiz. The 41st President of the United States, George Herbert Walker Bush, was honored with a state funeral at the National Cathedral today. Brian McConkey joins us live in the newsroom in the studio with more on today's service. Brian?
Myra, thousands of people gathering at the National Cathedral today in the nation's capital, including all the living U.S. presidents, to say goodbye to the 41st president of this country. 4 people chosen to eulogize George H.W. Bush, including his son, who you just heard from a moment ago, former President George W. Bush. He said his father's many close calls with death gave him an appreciation for life. During his emotional remarks, the former president tearfully sharing the special bond he had with his father, including their final conversation.
Dad, I love you and you've been a wonderful father. And the last words he would ever say on earth were, I love you too.
Now, after the service today, President Bush's coffin was carried from the church to the sounds of Hail to the Chief, Air Force One. Then flying his body to Houston, Texas, a public viewing set for tonight at St. Martin's Episcopal Church in Houston. That's where he and his wife regularly attended services. On Thursday, there will be a private funeral at that church starting at 10 a.m. Now, the 41st president will be buried at his presidential library next to his wife Barbara and their daughter Robin at Texas A&M University. At 94, George Herbert Walker Bush was the longest living U.S. president. Live in the studio, Brian McConkey, Watch Fox News.
Brian, thank you. And we continue to hear from people across the Midlands about how President Bush touched their lives. Columbia Mayor Steve Benjamin tweeted this photo of himself as a 20-year-old USC student. The mayor saying he stayed up all night to avoid oversleeping and missing the opportunity to meet our 41st president.
If you work hard, you get a good education, that you treat people with dignity and respect, and good things will happen. And President Bush exuded that. President Bush was part of the greatest generation.
And for the latest developments on this story and others, make sure to download the Watch Fox News app. You'll also find updates on our website, wach.com. Well, change is in the air, and you've probably already felt it. Justin, at this point, all I can say is brr.
Yeah, if you thought it was cold this morning, Myra, buckle up. It's about to get colder tonight. In fact, we're talking about overnight lows in the 20s, high pressure in control, calm weather tonight. And that's never a good combination for us if we want warm weather. You can see right now we're talking about dry conditions and very few clouds tonight in the forecast, meaning that our current temperatures now, which are anything but warm. In fact, the warmest location right now, Aiken at 50 degrees, are going to go down, down, down. And winds, well, they're still up between about 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the west, meaning that it does feel a little bit cooler in some spots, especially down in Aiken County where they're seeing gusts over 15 miles per hour. Now tonight, downtown Columbia, overnight lows in a range from the low 20s in the northwest of Midlands to downtown Columbia near 29 degrees. And some of our warmer locations may have a 3 in front of them if they're lucky. And then, of course, you got to bring the pets inside, make sure the little ones are bundled up at the school bus stop. And, of course, you got to take care of number 1 as well. By the afternoon, well, 51 degrees, not a bad day, but certainly cooler than normal. And as we look ahead towards the weekend, a lot of question marks remain in terms of precipitation. One thing we can bank on, very heavy rainfall across the Carolinas as we head into your Saturday and Sunday forecast. We'll break those details down coming up a little bit later in the show. However, we got to talk about traffic, Myra, and it is busy out there. This is a live look at I-77 southbound as you approach the Wilson Boulevard area, because we've got that construction that's been going on and the traffic extending now between 3 to 4 miles there. So if you are coming from the Charlotte area headed towards Blythewood, maybe trying to get down towards Columbia, expect some delays. There are also a few other delays, including I-26 both east and westbound near Calhoun County. And specifically, we've got a collision slowing things down. And of course, Myra, those usual suspect areas as you head out of downtown Columbia through Malfunction Junction and towards Lexington and Irma. We'll track changes in the forecast as well as traffic later in the show.
Thank you so much, Justin. And we are following developing news out of Lexington County at this hour. Bond was denied for Stanley Lubkin. Lubkin is in custody, accused of firing at officers in a Walmart parking lot. Courtney King is joining us live from the Columbia Police Department. So, Courtney, what kind of charges were filed against Lubkin?
Well, Myra, Stanley Lubkin faces several charges, including 2 counts of attempted murder. Now, Lexington County deputies actually found him and captured him early this morning. They say he was sleeping in a stolen Dodge Ram on North Lake Drive, but this all started last night when a Columbia police investigator spotted a stolen Escalade in a Walmart parking lot. Now, Lubkin and Mandy Johnson were identified as shoplifting suspects at a nearby Home Depot. Authorities think the two drove to both stores in the Escalade. Columbia officers detained Johnson while Lubkin was inside the Walmart. Now, officers tried to speak to him when he came out and walked towards the SUV, but officers say Lubkin ignored their verbal commands to get down on the ground and he ran away. Now, Lubkin allegedly fired shots, but officers did not fire back and continued to chase him. Now, authorities say that's when Lubkin hopped in to the Dodge Ram.
And anytime you're engaging in a deadly force situation, we have to take into consideration all those components, and at that time the officer made the decision not to return fire. Everybody went home safe, and that is our hope, including the suspect. He went to jail, but he went to jail safe.
Now, no officers were hurt during the chase, and we've actually learned about Lubkin's criminal past. He has a rap sheet that's nearly 10 pages long, and it dates back to 2005, just a couple weeks after his 17th birthday. Now, some of those crimes include our alleged burglary, grand larceny, domestic violence, and giving false information. Now, he actually was supposed to be off of probation in a few weeks later this month, Myra. And as for Mandy Johnson, she faces multiple drug charges. Live from Columbia Police Department, Courtney King, Watch Fox News. We'll send it back to you in studio.
Courtney, thank you so much. We're also learning more about a deadly house fire that happened in Lexington County over the weekend. Michelle Zhu is live from where that fire happened. And Michelle, what can you tell us about the victim?
Myra, the coroner identified him as Tommy Ray Watts and says he lived at this home behind me off Sunny Boy Pool Road in Gaston. Now, that trailer home behind me, you can see, is down to the wooden frame. And even just 3 days later, the smell of smoke still fills the air. Authorities say they found the 52-year-old man early Sunday morning just after midnight. Now, I spoke with Watts' family members, and they tell me he was born with a disability that caused him to struggle with weight gain. But he lost more than 200 pounds and found that out just last week. He was wanting to improve his health. He was also wheelchair-bound and lived alone for 7 years, but was loved by his family. It's not clear what led to the fire, but Watts' aunt tells me she believes it was sparked by a space heater.
My stomach has been tied in knots. We found out Sunday that he had gotten on the floor somehow and he had crawled, and he was like 2 feet from the doors where they found his remains. So that just tears me up. He was a big boy and he had a big heart.
And autopsy results show Watts died from smoke inhalation, and right now the fire is being investigated by both SLED and the Lexington County Sheriff's Department. Reporting live in Gaston, Michelle Zhu, Watch Fox News.
Michelle, thank you. Sumter County deputies say a man faces charges for trying to buy a car with a fake check. 31-year-old Marcus Antonio Blair of Florence is now charged with forgery. Deputies say that he forged a check for $8,500 to buy a car. The dealer then called law enforcement, who could not verify that check's authenticity. Blair is now at the Sumter County Detention Center. Some shocking news for students and staff of Virginia College after learning that the school is closing its doors nationwide. The school CEO, Stu Reed, sent a memo to faculty members today stating that Virginia College has lost its accreditation. Also, the Department of Education has added requirements making operations on campuses much more challenging. Students say they received no warning.
Today, we went through a whole nother semester, and today he was like, okay, everything's over. And I was like, no, you can't be, because you guys said we're gonna finish. I can't pull out student loans or any more student loans to go back to school.
Challenge now for those faculty and school members. Also in Richland County right now, deputies are trying to figure out what led to a shooting at a Midlands bus stop. Deputies responded to that school bus stop near Starboard Way and Spindrift Lane around 7:30 Monday morning, and they found that a Hand middle school student was involved in a shooting with other students around. Now, fortunately, no one was injured, and now one parent in that area is calling on parents to step up.
I actually want to find out who he is so I can help him, because I'm a single parent father and I see the kids in the neighborhood all the time. So I hope that I could meet him or maybe talk to him, put him under my wings.
Richland County School District officials alerted parents about what happened around 2 o'clock on Monday afternoon. Now, they would not say whether or not that student will face any disciplinary actions. We're getting a closer look at some viral video of an incident that has left one student suspended and a faculty member on administrative leave. Take a look at this. This is video from a Calhoun County High School classroom from Monday. As you can see, a student appears to be taunting and smacking the teacher while standing on his desk. District leaders have not explained what exactly is happening in this video, but does say that the student has been recommended for expulsion and the faculty member is now on administrative leave. The school district is working with local law enforcement on this matter as well. And we're getting our first look of a prison riot from earlier this year. After the break, we'll tell you what happened as a result of the chaos in this Arizona prison.
And bitterly cold conditions invade the Midlands tonight. We're talking about overnight lows for the most part in the 20s, and then some changes as we head towards the weekend. We'll talk about that right after the break. And welcome back to the Fastcast at 5, everyone. I'm Watch Fox meteorologist Justin here. We've got a lot to talk about over the course of the next several days, but first and foremost, our biggest concern in the immediate future will be a very cold night tonight. We're in the 20s, which is dangerously cold for people and for pets, so please take care of both. Also, some weekend woes potentially in the form of heavy rainfall and maybe even a little bit of mixed precipitation across the upstate, along the South Carolina, North Carolina line, and perhaps even the northern Midlands. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But right now, high pressure in control. We are cool and dry and about to get cold tonight. You can see temperatures still in a range from the mid-40s to near 50 degrees over in Aiken County. Also winds a little bit breezy from time to time this afternoon, but right now coming out of the west between about 5 to 10 miles per hour with gusts over 15, especially in the southwest of Midlands. As you head out the door tomorrow, take a jacket with you by the afternoon. Depending on what you deem chilly, you may not need that jacket, with temperatures in the 50s, and highs tomorrow will range from the upper 40s to the mid-50s. Now, the question marks this weekend come, one, in the form of how much rain we'll get. In fact, we could be seeing 2 to 3 inches of heavy rainfall Saturday into Sunday, but you notice some of those pinks and purples on your screen. That would be a mixed precipitation as well as some snowfall. Notice North Carolina and portions of the upstate flirting with the Midlands. Our chances are relatively low, but as you move into the northwest of Midlands, chances get a little bit higher. That's something we'll talk about a little bit more during the 7-day forecast later in the show. But also, just bear in mind that things can always change, but plan for heavy rainfall this weekend and a very cold rain at that. Myra will take a look at the 7-day forecast, and from what I can see over my shoulder, some building traffic across the Midlands.
Thanks for the heads up, Justin. An 8th grade student in Indiana is dead after a crash this morning involving a school bus and a truck. Another student was airlifted to the hospital but is expected to be okay. 39 students were on that bus at the time of the crash. And in other headlines tonight, the family of a missing Florida woman, Carla Stefaniak, is confirming that her body was indeed found near an Airbnb where she was staying in Costa Rica. Authorities have detained a security guard who worked nearby. And one person is in critical condition and more than 50 other people fell ill this morning at an Amazon warehouse in New Jersey. Fire officials say it happened after bear repellent fell off a shelf and spread fumes throughout the air. In Dallas, police say a high-speed chase that reached speeds of over 100 miles an hour turned into a standoff. After more than an hour, the driver finally gave up and surrendered. Arizona officials released video of a prison riot from March that led to an inmate's death, dozens of injuries, and the firing of 6 corrections officers. The riot started when guards were assaulted by an inmate believed to be drunk. And one person is recovering from a gunshot wound after an attempted robbery at a restaurant supply store in Baltimore early this morning. Police are now searching for 2 suspects. And new shocking allegations against former CBS chief executive Les Moonves. A new report suggests that he destroyed evidence in a sexual misconduct investigation against him. He is the latest prominent entertainment exec to be ousted in the Me Too movement. And we're just learning about a healthy baby girl born a year ago in December using a transplanted uterus from a deceased donor. The Lancet Medical Journal is now detailing this historic birth. And for the first time, researchers have identified 2 clusters of genes that appear to generate hallmarks of dementia. The discovery helps with finding appropriate drugs to treat the illness. Well, you might never have guessed this, but it appears the holiday season and aggressive driving go hand in hand. And after the break, you might be surprised to learn where you'll find some of the worst aggressive drivers. Well, when you take a look at what's going on outside right now, Justin, makes you feel glad that we're not on the road?
That's one way to put it, Myra. Of course, you know, we're here in the comfort of the studios of Watch Fox, but for those of you on the roadways, things are a little bit busy out there. I think our traffic cam froze, but that is a look at Interstate 26 between Piney Grove and Harbison. Not a big surprise that that area is busy both to and fro. Of course, a lot of people probably doing some traffic as well, but we do have traffic extending out of downtown Columbia, meeting with I-26 westbound traffic going all the way up to the Broad River Road exit. Not a big surprise, I-20 towards the Lexington County side slow. We're also getting some reports of a bit of a slowdown near Broad River Road along Interstate 20 on the Richland County side. We talked about some of the traffic as you head up towards the Blythewood area on I-77 southbound due to ongoing construction there, and the accident that we were telling you about earlier on I-26 east and westbound in Calhoun County has subsided, but we can guarantee you this, Myra, that the reds will continue to glow on our traffic map between now and at least 6:30 tonight. And I suspect that as we get closer and closer to the holidays, well, that Harbison Boulevard area will continue to pick up in terms of early season shopping.
We consider ourselves duly warned. Thank you so much, Justin. Well, some of the most aggressive drivers in the U.S. can be found right here in the Palmetto State. South Carolina came in at number 5 on the most aggressive driving list. Now, experts say many people get frustrated on the roads around the holiday season. Aggressive driving usually happens before a big holiday like Christmas, and that's when you'll see more traffic that Justin was talking about. Excessive braking by vehicles and, of course, speeding as well. Now, the number 1 state on the list is Georgia. It's the state with the least number of aggressive drivers is Hawaii. Not too surprising about that. Now, coming up, Horton and Babar have found a place in our hearts. We're talking about those elephants, but make room in your hearts for Jake and Chuck. Coming up, we'll show you where these cuddle buddies are gaining popularity. But first, Dutch Fork High Silver Foxes are going after their 3rd consecutive football state championship. After the break, Corey Miller will give us a preview of the big game.
And welcome back to the Fastcast at 5. We're hanging out here at Dutch Fork High School again a couple of days before championship weekend begins. Again, the game was moved from Saturday up until Friday. And now you got the biggest showdown of them all in 5A. Dutch Fork, the Silver Fox, taking on T.L. Hanna from the upstate. Now, both these teams are undefeated. Now, I'm talking about giant versus a giant. And when I say the word giant, I mean the guy for T.L. Hanna. That pick is a 5-star recruit who's headed to South Carolina to be a part of the Gamecock football team. He is going to be one of those guys that's going to make a big difference in this ball game. And he talked about it during the week about this matchup against Dutch Fork.
Really best on best, and that's what kind of all we wanted to do. Their defense, their offense was really good. They got some big-time receivers, and their running back is extremely good. And we just got to match it.
Of course, right behind me right now as they are getting ready, the offensive line, of course, going to have that challenge of blocking Zach Pickens. I tell you what, it's going to be a tough challenge, but it should be very fun and very interesting. And don't forget, this game will be on the big stick on Watch Fox 57 at 7:30 p.m. Friday at Williams-Brice Stadium. The other 2 games, 1 at 1, will be on 57.2 as well as the 3A championship. And we'll have much more tonight and the rest of the week on this big-time showdown on Friday night. But for now, I'm Corey Miller, Watch Fox Sports from Dutch Fork High School. We'll be back in just a moment.
sweet video. What are these? These are elephants, cute elephants at the Denver Zoo. Their names are Jake and Chuck. They were so busy touring their new digs that they just had to sleep. And watch this. One of them puts his front leg over the other one and then his back.
Aww.
Isn't that sweet? Spooning elephants there. They're the newest Asian elephants at the Denver Zoo.
Elephants are very social animals. They have little families, and
Yeah.
sometimes they can even have adoptive families if they're placed together later in life. But one thing that we do have to keep an eye on tonight, of course, Maya, for animals, whether they're elephants or dogs or cats, is it's going to be cold tonight, overnight lows in the 20s. One thing I'm keeping a very close eye on for the weekend, one is very heavy rainfall. Some of us could be getting a very heavy cold rain Saturday into Sunday. Also, if you're headed towards the upstate or North Carolina, likely over the weekend you're going to be encountering some wintry precipitation. I think the northwestern Midlands, specifically Newberry, Fairfield, and Kershaw counties, you guys could be flirting with some mixed precipitation for a period of time, maybe Sunday morning, maybe even Monday morning. We'll fine-tune that as we get closer, but this is not going to be an end-of-the-world forecast or anything like that. But just keep in mind it's going to be a wet, unpleasant weekend, and we finally start drying out by Monday night. And then we'll have to see if there's any sort of residual moisture on the ground, because we could even have a black ice concern maybe Tuesday morning, depending on how wet the roadways are. So just keep in mind it's going to be a messy weekend, so enjoy the sunshine over the course of the next couple of afternoons. But tonight, very cold. Please bring your pets inside.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder. And thank you for tuning in to the Fastcast at 5. We'll see you tonight at 10.